Welcome to another Caroline Glick Show. As I speak to you today, it's actually the night of November 19th. We've been fighting now with Hamas. It's been 44 days since they invaded Israel. We see most of the ground operation is in northern Gaza, but we're moving also to central Gaza and also beginning to operate in southern Gaza. And I wanted to get a sense of the picture of the battle space in Gaza with an old friend of mine and really one of the military men that I most admire. It's Lieutenant Colonel Yaron Buskila. He's a reserve lieutenant colonel. And in reserves, he serves as the operations officer for the Gaza Division. In his civilian life, Colonel Buskila is also the CEO of IDSF, otherwise known as the Bitronistim, which is an organization of retired Israeli military warriors and officers, commanders that compiles strategies and tactics for better fighting our wars and defeating our enemies. So first of all, we're really lucky to catch him awake because he's working around the clock. Colonel Buskila, thank you so much for coming and joining me on the program today.
Thank you, Caroline, for doing.
No, it's my pleasure. So Yaron, you actually live not far from division headquarters in southern Israel, and you arrived there, I think, about an hour after the Hamas invasion. I'm not even sure that I spoke to you very much since then. Can you just tell me what did you see when you arrived at division headquarters on October 7th, and what time was that?
Yeah, so first of all, I live not so far away from Gaza, actually in the between Ashdod to Ashkelon. It's about 30 minutes from Gaza, and I woke up as many people on this Shabbat morning to the siren alarms. And since we are, it's very weird to say that you're used to it. It's happening from time to time. So I thought that maybe the Hamas is just trying again to launch a rocket into Israel. It's not more than that. But I made a phone call to my commander. My commander lives in Kibbutz Sad, not so far away from Gaza as well, actually like 5 minutes from Gaza. And I called him and I said, is there something new? Is something wrong? He told me, listen, this is not only an alarm, siren alarm, because I hear a shooting. You live in the kibbutz, about very, very close to the fence around Gaza. And they told me, listen, you have to come immediately. If they're shooting, maybe they're trying to penetrate it into Israel, to infiltrate into Israel. And maybe this is one of the cases that we all the time for the last year prepared to. And actually, the IDF prepared for years for this kind of attack, but only on one village, 2 villages, not more than that. So we were sure that that's maybe, if this is the worst case, that's the case. So I just wear my uniform. Like 10 minutes later, I was on my way to the base, and because it was a Shabbat, I didn't open the radio, and I didn't listen to the news, and I was just driving to my base, and in couple places, there was officers that stopped me and said, you cannot go from here. And I was sure that maybe it's anti-tank rockets, maybe because of the rockets that they were launching to Israel. And I didn't even realize that there is like this kind of attack all around the Gaza Strip. So I went around from some dirt ways, and I found myself after maybe an hour and a half in the entrance to the Gaza Division base command. And as I got in, I saw that the gate was open. I saw a soldier that was shot, was just lying there next to the gate. And so I immediately took his gun and I understood that something here was different. And as I got into the base, they were shooting from two different sides. And there was terrorists in a couple of places that was hiding, started to shoot back. And I got into a fight of more than 6 hours in the base was 40 terrorists actually invaded, infiltrated into the base. And since they knew that this is the Gaza Division base command, they came with like 40 terrorists because they knew that if they will take control of this base, it will be very hard to stabilize the situation. And actually, that's one of the things that happened. It took us a lot of time to stabilize the situation and to get into the operation room. So we asked the division commander to get in. We actually locked him with some officer inside the operations room so he can manage and give an orders to the troops. And we stayed outside and fight with the terrorists. And while he was trying to stabilize the situation and send troops to all of the villages and the bases, the our position around, we fighted the terrorists. We actually even used the helicopter to shoot inside the base. Some of them hid in one of the gym. So we used the helicopter to kill some of them. And with the assistance of some of the soldiers there and one of the elite units that arrived after, I think it was after 2 hours. After 6 hours, we took over the base again and controlled the situation.
How many soldiers were killed at the base?
So there were around, they killed around like 8 soldiers. Some of them killed them in their bed. And actually, some of the officers that stayed there for Shabbat, they brought their families to be with them the Shabbat. Nobody actually realized that something like that can happen. And when they woke up to the sirens alarms, they start to run with their families to the shelter inside the base. And the terrorists killed 2 of the commanders that were there with their families. So we took the children, the women, and we locked them in one of the safe room in the operation.
How many soldiers do you think that you killed once you got to the base?
Ours? Were you asking about our soldiers? I mean, how many soldiers killed when we about? I think
no. How many did you kill? How many of the terrorists do you think that you killed when you got there and you said that you were being shot at from 2 sides?
Yeah. So me personally, if you're asking about me personally, I think that they killed like around maybe 2. There were some other soldiers that killed more, but totally there were around 40 terrorists that infiltrated into the base of weapons.
So you walk in there and the first thing you see is a dead soldier, and all the way to the base, you weren't even aware of what was happening. So you got there and you're in a state, you must have been completely shocked by what you're looking at, right?
Yeah, and I have no gun, so I took his gun. And I just, from my first step, when I just got inside the base, the shooting started, and I just got into this fight immediately as I got in.
And okay, so and the division commander was on the base at the time that it was under attack, or did he also arrive late like you did once you started getting the air raid sirens? Was he there at the time?
He was there.
He was there.
All of the weekend he was there. He and one of the brigade commander was there. One other came from his house or during the night because there were some details about something wrong that happened in Gaza, but actually not something that is so dramatic, not something that you can realize that thing like that can happen. But he decided to come anyway. This guy that unfortunately he was murdered, he killed by the terrorists during this.
Is that the head of the Nafal Brigade?
No, it's the Southern Brigade of Gaza Division, the commander of the Southern Brigade of Gaza Division. And his body right now actually is still in Gaza. And he killed immediately when he came into the Gaza Division. And the attack started. He took his team in his car. He drove party area, and he killed, so I think he would use an RPG or an anti-tank rocket and shoot in his car, and they are unfortunately still.
But he got to the base, or they killed him on the road on the way to the base?
No, he first he got to the base, and then when he just started to understand what's going on, he took his time, and he drove to the party area, and he was killed there somewhere on the way.
I see. And so you're saying that the worst case scenario that they were looking at from the Southern Division, from the Gaza Division and Southern Command, was that Hamas was going to go into 2 communities. They were going to try to, and how many did they actually do? 13, 15? What was it?
It's open 75 places, like in the gates. They broke the gate in 75 places, and they got to more than 20 villages, and to all of the army position in the same time. There was more than 2,500 terrorists that actually got infiltrated in the first wave. Then was the second wave of some other terrorists that just joined them from the Jihad Islamic Palestinian. And they, like about maybe between 500, then came another 1,000 people that actually civilians, that they caught in the mosque, and they say, now we have opportunity to kill Jewish people. And still, it's got the mob, this is the right word in English, like they came inside just with a knife, knives and whatever that you could hold, and they joined to this Hamas terrorists and got inside, and some of them stole things just to take to Gaza. And I saw one of the shocking video, that one of them came with a pickup to one of the villages to Iran, and he took a bicycle, and he took one of the furniture, and then he saw a 3 years old baby child just walking and looking for his parents, and he took him and put him in the back of the pickup afterwards, like he was, I don't know, like one of the furniture or bicycle, and he drove away. Like him, like he were people to take advantage of what happened to kill people. They where they could do that, so why not? And you could see people very old, like almost when walk, that coming in, and like maybe 70 years old, 80 years old, Arabic, and young people, even young children, like in the 8 years old, that coming in and just trying to stop and to kill Jewish people, as many as they can. And some of them, we recognize them as Arabics that was working inside the same villages, and the people that gave them work, gave them money, tried to live in peace with them, and for them, when they just have the opportunity, they kill the same people that they work with.
Let me ask you a question, Yaron. When I know, a lot of the after action investigations are going to happen, obviously, after the war is over. But there were reports in the news that there were 2 consultations during the night with the top level commanders of the army, the chief of staff, the head of military intelligence, the head of the Southern Command, and the head of the Shabak. And they saw that there was suspicious activity going on in Gaza, and that they were looking at a scenario that looked suspiciously like the nightmare scenario that they had in mind, which was 2 villages being invaded. But the report said that they didn't alert the division commander, the Gaza Division commander. To the best of your knowledge, are those reports correct?
First of all, I want to tell you something, like in generally, everyone that will tell you that he know exactly what happened in this night, it will be not professional, because we haven't made any debriefing yet about what happened. So maybe some of the people see points, but not all of the picture. Right now, the army, all of the commander, beginning from the chief of the staff, are just focusing on planning and not about the debriefing. But I can tell you that yes, there was some information, but you couldn't take this information and understand or learn from that something can that like happen. What I can tell you that if you could just look about the way that they were practicing in the last year, they didn't hide nothing. You can see everything what they're planning to do. But I don't know if you can learn about it, how large they want to do that. Like they want to go all over. But you can see exactly what they're planning, how they plan to cross the fence, and they're planning to get into the houses, and how they're planning to kill. So I say,
because there were soldiers asleep. I mean, they killed soldiers who were asleep. There wasn't a dawn guard. There was nobody. It was not, people were not on war footing. People were asleep. There weren't people mobilized to be guarding the military bases and the communities at dawn.
So, it took them around between 10 minutes to 15 minutes from the minutes that they left Gaza to the point that they just got into the bases or to the villages. So this very quick. And one of the first things that they did, they just hit our cameras by the drones. The drones throw grenades on the cameras, so we have no eyes to see how many people are coming and where they're coming. So even when some of the soldiers started to see what's happening, we had no idea where they're going, if they're going only to one base or all over. So then maybe, I believe, and again, we didn't have made any debriefing yet. Maybe this is one of the reasons why they found some of the soldiers sleeping. And I can say so many things about it, but I think it would be just from my point of view, and this will be not really professional to tell you exactly what is the reason right now. After the war will over, I believe that it's taken time just to learn everything and to understand the whole picture.
All right. Well, why don't we move forward then? So one of the most sort of, I guess, heartwarming and also empowering things was that once the dimensions were known, that people started coming for emergency call-up orders before many of them even received them. And that we had 130% mobilization. So 100% of the people who were mobilized, and then another 30% came as volunteers immediately. So was that something that surprised you? The extraordinary outpouring of desire on the part of the reservists to come in as quickly as possible and defend the country, or would that just be something that you assumed would happen, and you were glad that you were correct?
It's first of all, you're right. So one of the things I remember when I just got into the operation, and after I was fighting with the terrorists inside the base, I found that my WhatsApp was full of messages from a lot of people in Israel that told me, listen, my kid is here, my nephew is there, or my friend is over here. We have his, he sent me his location. Can you please go and save him? Or one of the families in the kibbutzim, they asking for help, and I just started to send all of these messages and to many of every unit that just came in, and some of them were just gathering together, a couple of soldiers that met somewhere. They said, okay, now we are a unit. We are 5, 6, 7 people. Let's go together. And they called me, and I said,
Can I interrupt you for a second? Because you're not answering the question I asked you. You're answering a really important question, which is, so I just want to direct it for a second, which is the immediate response of people who came in to save people when they realized what was happening. And there are two levels of the question. One is the incredible heroism of the people who came down. But the other one is, why did it take so long for the regular army to come down? So you're explaining to me the first part, and I want you to continue, but then I'd also like you to address the second part, Because people in the kibbutzim and other places are saying it took 8 hours for the army to arrive.
So the answer is like that. First of all, since we realized that if there will be a attack, it will be only on the 2 villages, not more. So there was not enough units in the area to give to assist all of the villages, all of the people that need help. There was just a few soldiers that can help or can give us assist to all or to get involved in only 2 attacks, not more than that, because that's what the army was sure that going to happen in the worst case. So that was not enough soldiers. And since it was a weekend, and it was the holiday, not so many soldiers were in their bases out of the Gaza area, even for the elite units. And it took time to bring them to the base and then to get them in the helicopter, from the helicopter to Gaza Strip. So some of them just came by themselves with their own cars. I don't know if this is answer your question. And so people come hear it from their friends that they are of the party, they say listen, there are people shooting us, so they came by themselves immediately because they heard it by the phone, by the messages. Some of them, of course, by the media. So anyone who just had the gun came by himself, and if his unit asked him to come back to his base, so he went to the base and then he took an helicopter and came back. And in the same, there was not too much pilot in the weekends in the first hours to bring all of the soldiers in the scene immediately to the area.
I see. So, I mean, because a lot of people were saved by civilians and by just, regular people who found out what was happening or came to find their child who was at the party or whatever and ended up coming out saving dozens and in some cases, hundreds of people on their own with no gun, just because they were trying to save their children. So, I mean, some of the stories are just unbelievable, but those are civilians. They weren't the army, So, but let's talk a second about the major mobilization of the IDF. And that was the question that I asked, is that it took almost no time for the IDF to get over 300,000 reservists mobilized, to the point where they didn't even have enough equipment. They had to take several weeks in order to equip everybody who had already shown up with what they needed to be outfitted for war. That was a remarkable response by the Israeli people to this crisis, I think.
Yes, I think that one of the positive things that we have in Israel, one of the incredible things, that how many the Israeli people are patriots and was leaving everything in emergency, not just to come and to come to the armies. They're not even waiting that people will call them and tell them, okay, you need to come. And they do it even before they're getting a message. So I think that most of the people that came to the army for the reserve units and even from the elite unit, the people in the active duty, just did it by themselves without even calling them. So it was very, very quick to gather all of them into their units and to start to prepare to the attack. Actually, as you probably know, it took us 3 weeks to start the offensive and the attack in Gaza, is because the IDF decided, and I think it was a good decision, first of all, to make sure that all of these reserve soldiers practicing, they have the good equipment, and they have all of the protecting shields that they need to their vehicle, to their personal vest, and not to go quick inside until we are like 100% ready as much as we can. And I think that it was a good decision, because right now we can see that, first of all, the soldier some of the soldiers didn't even practice morally to a year or 2 years, and to give them 3 weeks to practice, they're just making them much better and more prepared. I think that we saw the vehicle that we see that they're always shooting our anti-tank rockets. since we put the right shields and the best shields. So there are a lot of soldiers that say like that. And I think that the plan of the attack was prepared much better since we have the time to plan it again and to think again how we want to do that and what is the right way to get in and where to attack first and where second. And I think that this week was very necessary.
And let's talk about really where the operation is now. I mean, there's a lot of noise around everything that happens in Gaza. Every target that Israel hits, you get every country on planet Earth wants to let us know their opinion of what's happening, about the target selection, about how we're hitting it, et cetera, in a way that's just profoundly unfair, but and really discriminatory towards Israel. But how is the feeling on the ground in terms of the progress? Do you feel satisfied with the way that things are progressing? On the one hand, it seems very slow, and on the other hand, it seems like we're making a lot of progress. I don't really understand the decision to leave the southern border with Gaza in Hamas's hands this entire time. Perhaps you can speak to that as well. Why the Philadelphia corridor that controls the international border with Egypt, between Egypt and Gaza, remains controlled by Hamas and not by Israel. Give me a sense. I'd like actually a specific answer to that question, but of how things are going generally, and then we can break it down a little bit, maybe, if you have time.
So first of all, yes, I feel very satisfied with the current situation in Gaza. I think that in the first days, nobody really understood what's going on inside Gaza. Where is the IDF? And since this is, I think, one of the first times that the media was not so involved in the information, so the enemy were not really involved. They, in the first day, thought that just a trick, that we're not really serious and we're not really getting in. So it took that couple of days to understand that the real attack was started. And that gave us a lot of very, very important time to get over the obstacles that all of the explosive charts and they used and they hid it in the first kilometer, that it was very, very important. And they didn't expect it that we were getting inside to the big attack. So right now, we are focusing in the north area of Gaza Strip. The reason that we're doing that is first because the Hamas, his main had their position, his main terror position, most of the underground tunnels, and even the place that is working in warfare, his offices are located in the north area. So we're the main goal, our main objective was first of all to make sure that there are no Hamas anymore, to ruin this organization, to destroy their. So if you want to do that, we have to start first in the north, where Shifa Hospital is located, and a lot of tunnels just going inside this hospital, and to the high schools, kindergartens, actually every public place that civilian using, they use that as a place that they can hide. By the way, they say that in some of our when they came, when we captured them, we took them to the Shin Bet into investigation. They said that they chose these places just because they know that Israel not attacking those places. So that why we are focusing in the north area right now. Like in this moment, actually we're in Jabalia and in Zaytun. This is the center of Gaza, the hardcore of the terror of the Hamas located there. It's not an easy fight, but I think that the IDF took a very important decision this time. Not like, protective age operation and not in any other operation, that they decided that our soldier will not fight in a place that we didn't hit before from the air, from our artillery and from tank. And actually the soldier fighting not between the houses like we saw in the past, that they're using a hammer to break the walls, to say, they're fighting between ruined places. And that's a big difference, because first of all, we are killing all of the terrorists, even if there is some not like civilians that are not involved in terror or half involved in terror. So what? So first of all, we need to take care about our soldiers. This is a very moral decision. This is something that we had to do even, I think, before. Second, because we are hit from the air, is a very heavy bombs. So many of the tunnels just collapse, and that's become their graves. They dig it because they plan that that's we did their only main weapon against us, as they did it in the protective watch operation. And since we're bombing it very heavily, so it becomes their grave. The muzzles, the tunnel muzzles, are blocked in many places, and it's very hard for them to fight. Some of the people told me, listen, there are not so many soldiers that died. Maybe the IDF maybe planned that would be more. And I said the IDF planned there would be 0 soldiers that died. We never give, a number before, or how many soldiers we accepted that to die in this. We're accepting that nobody will be hurt or die. But unfortunately, because they use all of the money that they get from all over the world, billions of dollars every year, the Hamas, the assistance from European countries and from the United States, and they just took all of the money. They never built even one school in the last 10 years, not one hospital by themselves, not one kindergarten. All of the money just spent it for tunnels. So about the south area, I believe that, yeah. So about the south area. So since we open a corridor to these people, to the Gaza civilians, we give them the opportunity to go to the south. So it will be even much more easy for us to fight in the north, because they use them as a human shield, and some of the times they just send them to stand between us to them. So it's much more easy for us to fight when there are most of the civilians in the south, and in the north, most of the people are terrorists. And very, very soon.
But here, let me just break it down for a second, because there are 2 major concerns that have arisen. The first is that there are a lot of military-aged men who are being filmed on that humanitarian corridor. And there was at least one story by Amir Bukhbut, I think in Ma'ariv, who said that nobody was checking them because they were afraid of harming civilians. And so the fear is that you're getting a lot of terrorists who are pretending to be civilians and going south. Another fear, and we see it also with the telltale signs that the hostages had been held in Shifa Hospital and I think in the Indonesian hospital, or Rentitsi Hospital, that they're not there anymore. And so there's a lot of fear on this in 2 directions. One is that they're being moved out through this humanitarian corridor. And the other one, and I know that you have loudspeakers calling out in Hebrew, but you haven't found anybody yet. And if they're hostages, seems reasonable to think that they wouldn't be saying anything. And then the other thing is, are they being spirited out into Egypt? We're not there. We're not in charge there. So, this is a real danger that we're facing. And I haven't really heard anybody respond to these concerns.
So first of all, we know that some of the terrorists used this humanitarian corridor, and they actually escaped to the south. We know We know about some of the names, but very, very soon we will start to fight in the south area of Gaza Strip. We're not going to leave it. This is one of the plans to get there. I don't want to tell you now in live way, but this is one of the plans to be there and to eradicate all of the Hamas wherever they are. Second, about the border with Egypt. So I don't want just to give you exactly the information how we're doing that, but some of them tried to escape to Egypt, and we killed them during their on the way to Egypt, before the cross to Egypt. We actually, in some ways, we are there, so they actually don't really have the opportunity to escape into Egypt. We know if someone trying to do that, and let's just say no more about it. The third about
right, because I mean, one of the things that it's always disconcerting to me is that you don't know what you don't know, and one of the things that's been so surprising in an unnerving way is the quantity of missiles and other, the anti-tank missiles, the RPGs, all of these munitions. And it's fairly clear, from what I understand, that they didn't produce them all in Gaza, that they were being brought in from Egypt. And then the question that a lot of people I've been hearing have been raising is, are there tunnels between Egypt and Gaza? Is Egypt playing a double game? Is Sisi not in charge? Whatever you want to ask. But, if there are tunnels and we're not there to check, then those would also be
I can tell you
exits.
about the first thing about their ammunition. Most of the ammunition that they created inside Gaza, because it was very hard for them to smuggle ammunition from Egypt into Gaza. It's not so easy. That's why some of their accurate or anti-tank rockets that they have, there are only few of them. It's not easy actually to do that. Israel is really involved in what's happening in the border. But as we said, what we do, we don't know what we don't know. And of course, sometimes some of them can get in, and maybe some of the terrorists can escape to Egypt. Of course, there is no 100%. We're doing our best to avoid it. But about our hostages, so I tell you something, and I know that it will make sense. We are fighting in Gaza like there is no hostages in Gaza, and we're trying to do the best to bring them back like we're not fighting in Gaza. It's like what I'm trying to say, that we're doing to do our two efforts. We're going to do our best to bring them back, and at the same time to fight in Gaza without giving them a chance to live or to be exist anymore. But if you're asking me personally, what should we do with them? So I will tell you, after Gilad Shalit was kidnapped, 2 days after, there was one guy, he's 16 years old. His name is Eliyahu Oshri, that was hijacked. He was kidnapped 2 days later. And then I think it's from the entrance to Ofrat, one of our villages in the Judean Samaria. So, and then after 1 day, they asked his mom in the radio, they didn't know yet where is he, what's going on with him. What do you think that the government should do to release your son? And she said, as a mom, I'm asking and I'm willing that they will release as many terrorists as they can to bring my son back. But as a citizen, I'm asking him not to release even one. So of course you need to raise a balance between what is the necessary of us as the citizen of Israel, what we want, how do we want the next generation will look like after this war, not only the day after this war, but the generation after this war. And we need to take a decision that will have a big impact about our life after this war. At the same time, we have to be very sensitive. Everyone that kidnapped and hijacked into Gaza, and we're doing our best to bring them back alive. and at the same time that we're fighting.
It's a very, very difficult situation. They keep talking about the possibility of a deal, and that deal would require a ceasefire on Israel's part for a prolonged period of several days up to a week. How are you guys looking at that from an operational perspective in Gaza? That you may be ordered to stand down in the middle of everything at any moment if the war cabinet makes a decision to go ahead with whatever deal is on offer.
The leader of the Hamas actually just praying and waiting for the ceasefire because they want to escape from some of the places because we are very close to capture them or to kill them, so that they are willing, they want to stay alive. But at the same time, we remember even for protective age operations, and when we just started the ceasefires, they used it to fight against us and to kidnap our soldiers and to surprise us or to get armed again. But it's very hard decision because we want to see our citizens, the Israeli people that are right now waiting in Gaza to come back home. So I believe that maybe we should take the risk, but it depends how big is the risk. They need to get into ceasefire. How many people they're gonna release? This is one of the
because one of the things, I mean, if we take your kind of, we'll search for the hostages as if there's no ground operation, and we'll proceed with the ground operation as if there are no hostages. The other question is, okay, so can you do something similar? Can you have short-term operational goals that you can do within X number of hours, X number of days, and then be at a place where you can stop for a while? Or do you require continuous operations, and any stoppage is going to undermine our ability to defeat Hamas? And I mean, obviously, they'll use every pause in the fighting in order to regroup, rearm, re-equip, redeploy in other places. I mean, that's just ABCs. Of course they will. But is there a way to, bearing in mind the possibility that you're going to be ordered at any moment to stand down, that you're going to be able to be in a position where we won't have, for instance, more Hadar Goldens, God forbid, who, I had his brother Chemia on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was snatched during, he was killed, and then his body was stolen during one of these civilian or humanitarian ceasefires in Protective Edge. So, I mean, are you looking at that as well?
I think that our commanders of the RDF, and I think that the cabinet understand that once we will have a ceasefire, and of course that they will not release all of them, but they will take advantage of this ceasefire to hide the other, and to move them to another places. So I said this is a very hard decision, because as much as we are keeping fighting, this is just putting more stress on the Hamas, and that brings us much more close to our hostages. But as you're coming more close to the hostages, they may kill them, as they did in some other cases, even now, and during this operation, because they know that they prefer, first of all, to kill them and then to fight, and not to give them the chance to release alive, and not to give us the chance to save them. So it's not an easy, very easy answer, like a very clear answer to that. And just think that the best way, to keep push them and to go forward, and then to put them under stress. And if we will have the opportunity to release some of them alive, of course we will do that. And if not, we need to think even about the future. what will happen in the next time if they will kidnap another citizen. And if you want to avoid that, this is our opportunity to be very clear about our goals, our objectives, and to show to the Hamas leaders that they cannot play with our feelings, and to show us when they show us videos and pictures that they think that we will stop this fight. The ways that they are working their families of these hostages.
No, I mean, it's horrible. And obviously you're talking about Corporal Noam Marciano, who they released a film of her last week pleading for her life. And then they showed a picture of her corpse after she had been killed, and accused Israel. And our men found her at Shifa Hospital yesterday on November 18th. So we're obviously we saw that. We also had I unfortunately can't remember his name, another hostage who was killed, who's 86 years old in Gaza. And we have to remember that all of these people, or most of these people, came into Gaza alive. And the only actor responsible for killing them, to the extent that they are killed, is of course Hamas. But how does the issue of the hostages impact the morale of the soldiers on the ground?
I think the issues of the hostages is that that are not taking a place in the war that chooses our citizens, but our soldiers. And then there is that I'm getting excited and I take part of this fight, and I'm speaking with a lot of commanders and soldiers. I think that, of course, the spirit, because what happened, because all of the people that was slaughtered, and of course, wherever all of the people are feel very, very sad. But in the other hand, people feel very responsible about this war, that they understand that we have to win. There is nobody that I heard that thinking that maybe we need to stop, maybe it's not the right war, maybe, I don't know, we need to give them the opportunity to make peace with them again. People are very, very focusing about and believe in what we're doing. Last week, on Friday, I was doing my way to one of the places where some of the soldiers are preparing before they get inside Gaza, and I saw couple of soldiers fighting between them. So they said, "Well, hey, what's going on?" And they saw that they're having a paper, and everybody just pulled the paper. They said because everybody wants to write his name to get inside, and there is not enough place on the vehicle, because everybody want to take part in this fight. And it was very young soldier. And I asked one of the soldiers there, he was maybe 22, 23 years old in reserve, just maybe his first time he came with his reserve unit. I asked him, where do you live? He's saying, Tel Aviv. What are you doing in the student? And I told him, I see that you really want to get inside to fight, aren't you? Are you not afraid? And he's saying, of course I'm afraid. But I'm afraid about what will happen here in Israel if you will not win. And he told me, I'm really afraid about the children, our children. I said, but you don't have any children yet. I said, yeah, but my mother has children, and I have a brother and sister. And if we will not do it, in 100%, if we will not do it in a total way, that if they will still be Hamas here after the war, we cannot live here. We have to make sure that there is no Hamas, because, and I think, and I want to tell you that I think that after this war, all of this, the red sign, what we use, the red color, and tunnels, and the alarm sirens have to belong to the past. This is not something that we need. We can live with after this war. We have to make sure that all of these things that we get used to in the last 20 years will belong to the past. and we will not meet with that in the future anymore.
Says here, I'm just looking at the news briefs that I'm getting while you're talking, and it says that the Egyptians are saying that a ceasefire is going to go into effect tomorrow at 11 in the morning, and that 50 hostages are going to be released, and that we're going to have a 5-day ceasefire. Time will tell. Israel is denying those reports, and we'll just have to see. But it's all very, I don't know what. And I guess one last question that I'll ask you, because I know you have a lot to do, and I appreciate so much the time that you're spending here, is when you look at the south, of course, you also have to look at the north, where we also have evacuated over 100,000 civilians from their homes, because while the worst case scenario that Southern Command wrongly thought was going to be Hamas's plan was just to try to overrun 2 or so communities. And we know that Hezbollah's plan since 2018, when they actually released it publicly, was to invade and conquer the Western Galilee. And so far, we're just responding to fire. We're not taking any preemptive action to soften Hezbollah, which is much more powerful than Hamas, regardless of the level of threat that you're facing there. When you look at what's happening with Gaza and you look at the situation in the north, do you have any insights towards how these campaigns are related to each other? If it's just one and we're not going to do the other, or can you clue us in on the thinking in the Southern Command about the Northern Front? Is there any sort of operational framework that you're working in that includes a second front in the war in the north?
I think that if there is a big lesson that we learn from what's happening in Gaza, that the initiative need to be in our hands all the time. We cannot wait that our enemies will surprise us, because when they're doing that, we are paying a big price. And we know how the Hezbollah becomes stronger and stronger by the years, and we know that his terrorists in his troops are much more stronger than the Hamas, and they're telling that very loud and clear what they want to do. They want to conquer all of the North Syria of Israel. So, you know what? If our enemy saying what they want to do and training for what they're saying that they want to do, I believe them. I believe them more than I believe to what I assume that they want to do. And I think that what happened in Gaza, there is nothing that more clear than that we after we will finish war from Gaza, we will have to, if we want to, the peace in the north of Israel, not only in the north of Israel, because they have the ability to hit us even in the center or even to the south. They have accurate rockets that can get everywhere. We have to be the ones that starting the war in Lebanon, and the initiative have to be in our hands, and to take this risk and to fight against this risk from the Hezbollah, and to make sure that there is no Hezbollah anymore. They're saying that the Hamas will not be here anymore. That will bring peace to Israel, and you know what? Even to Lebanon.
I have to ask you a personal question, and I hope you don't mind. I just want to share. You were, I think, were you the most severely wounded, or one of the most severely wounded officers in Operation Protective Edge? And you went through an incredible process of rehabilitation, and here you are back in the fight. How do you feel? I mean, your body's already taken quite a beating in the previous war in Gaza. How are you?
First of all, I injured 3 times during my service. The first time I injured in Lebanon. Second time I injured in Gaza while a 16 years old kid was riding a bicycle and blew up himself next to me. And the third time it was in the Judean Seminary, actually in the area of the Jordan Valley. So I left parts of me in every place in Israel. So how do you feel? I don't know. I don't think about it. I'm very focusing on about that I don't want others to be injured, and I want my family to be saved. And I feel, you know what, I feel lucky that I have the opportunity to protect the Israeli people and to have a role, a meaningful role in the IDF. And I feel blessed. You know, I met many soldiers that injured in the army, and some of them felt very miserable. And I said, I think that you need to feel lucky that you had the opportunity to belong to those people, to the Jewish people that protect Israel. And if you're injured, okay, this is just a small thing that you can do for the Jewish people and for your country. And we can do that even in the future, as much as we need.
Well, you know, cats have 9 lives, but we only have 1. So I want you to be safe also, Yaron. And, you feel blessed to be able to be in a position to defend your country. And we certainly are blessed to have you there defending us. And I just want to say God bless you and all of the men that you're working with in our army. And you should all be safe and victorious and come home safe and sound.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you for
Appreciate
the opportunity.
you very much. Thank you very much for joining me today.